I'd like to discuss value and how our perception of that value has changed or evolved since the inception of the internet. To make an informed decision on a purchase prior to the internet, a consumer had to gain whatever knowledge they could about the product they were going to buy. Let's say it was a new car. They maybe went to other dealerships and talked to friends possibly about the make and model of car they were going to buy. And then in their trips to other dealerships, did some comparison shopping and talked to some salespeople, and developed a sense of value based upon those discussions. These discussions, of course, required a lot of trust on the part of the consumer that the salespeople were being honest and were offering their best price. They had no way of checking to see if that was, in fact, the best price for that particular make and model of vehicle. After the internet, now people have at their fingertips a immense amount of knowledge about a particular make and model of vehicle, and they know exactly what the cost of that vehicle is to the dealer. So when they go to that dealership, they have as much knowledge about that vehicle as a lot of the salespeople do. So the perception of value has changed since then because of that instantaneous availability of knowledge via the internet. The customer perceived value is defined as the customer's evaluation of the difference between all of the benefits and the costs of a product or service relative to those of the competition. Just as we said before, prior to the internet, those evaluations had to be made by physically visiting other dealerships to make those determinations about the benefits and costs relative to the competition. Those deals that were made prior to the internet were based more on a customer's trust of the salesperson and the salesperson's knowledge. Now, people were happy with their purchases, maybe more happy with their purchases prior to the internet than they are now. Along with the internet came the paradox of choices. Many people have too many choices now. Makes purchasing, especially a high-ticket item, much more difficult. And therefore, the evolution of a customer's perception of value over that period of time, pre-internet and post-internet, has changed. With the internet now, all the marketers' costs are likely to be known by the consumer ahead of time, before they even set foot on the property. And because of this, the marketer has to be prepared to modify their perception of value along with the customer's perception of value. So there are things that a marketer can do and does, if he is to be successful, to bolster that customer's perception of value for that impending purchase. Some of those things, and not inclusive, but some of these things can be things like free warranties with a new car, service after the sale, possibly free oil changes and free tire rotations, possibly an upgrade of items on the vehicle, such as a upgraded set of tires or free floor mats for the vehicle, and also like free financing. We see this all the time now with car dealerships offering free financing to get to add value to the purchase of the vehicle. So these things are the things that were not done prior to the internet, and I have seen this evolve as the internet has evolved to the benefit of the customer, no doubt. So as the evolution of the customer's perception of value has taken place, it has benefited the customer because the marketer has been forced to increase the value while decreasing their profit margin on many items, because when a person comes into the dealership armed with the knowledge that they now have, those car dealerships cannot charge the profit margins that they were charging before. They know that that person understands what the dealership paid for the vehicle, and they know also that that person is going to demand a price that's close to it. So it becomes a more of a volume sales situation for these types of operations, and to do that they have to increase the value even though they decrease the price. So they free financing, free floor mats, free oil changes, tire upgrades, free car washes for a year. These types of things are things that were never offered before prior to the internet, but the dealerships were able to charge more for the vehicle, and they sold probably fewer vehicles, but they made more per vehicle. So there again, on both sides of the transaction, there has been a evolution of the perception of value of the transaction. And this has all been brought about by the internet. This will continue to evolve as the internet evolves and as more and more information becomes available. There'll be other ways for people to also increase their value of a transaction. And what I see here recently is the participation of the customer in the transaction early on, making choices for the vehicle before they actually go to the dealership of make, model, style, color. They pick the interior. Even some vehicles are this information is getting into the supply chain before the vehicle even comes to the car lot. This person has determined the trim level and color so that when the vehicle arrives, it's the vehicle that they had input on, and therefore that increases the value, the perceived value that they see. So as we see this moving forward, as the internet becomes more and more interactive with supply chains and with other competition in other areas, I see that it benefits the customer as well as the company that's selling the product. So I think as we move forward, both sides will gain from this evolution of a perception of value. Thank you.